What is up, everybody? My name is Hector Flores, host of the Insert Name FC podcast, a member of the Belly of Sports Media Network. You can find us all things podcast, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast fix from, you will find us there. Also, full video version of this episode is available on Belly Up's YouTube channel, so just search Belly Up Sports, and you'll find us there on their YouTube channel, amongst other great content like High-Low Sports. Kelsey comes on the show pretty frequently. The guys at Corner Booth Pod, Morgan Man Sports, Time to BS, Sideline Summit. You get it. The list goes on and on of some great content. Obviously, pretty busy week this past week with the NFL draft happening. Also, we had a big super show for the NFL draft. Hope you guys check that out. I was on there to talk about the Houston Texans. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about the draft. You know, the draft is it's for people that aren't really as, like, I guess, into the American sports. The NFL draft is such a unique thing, and it's clear how it's so different versus the rest of the world, right? Because to acquire players, as far as like youth players, younger players, there is no draft, right? It's just the academy system. You build up players through the academy. They come up through the academy, and if they don't come up through the academy that they were coming, they usually get an opportunity somewhere else. So it's usually through youth development that you get your young players, versus here in the United States, it's obviously through a draft system, because here there is kind of the pathway is very much different to the likes of Europe, where Europe and the rest of the world have youth systems, youth academies to really invest into potential star players, right? Whereas here in the United States, you have the high school, right? The school levels, right? You know, middle school, high school. Then if you're good enough to get to a college program, you go play college ball, and then you get drafted into the professional league. It is also something that's done here with Major League Soccer. They still have the draft process. I've said my case plenty of times with the NFL, with the MLS Super Draft, that I feel like the combine is still needed. I think that there's still value in college soccer, in men's college soccer. I think there's still value to it. I just would love the players to have more power and have a better say, because I just feel like the turnover is probably not as great. At least recently, this is just my viewpoint. I think maybe the turnover from college athletes to go to the MLS and become actual impactful players it just doesn't usually work out. I mean, hell, we have a guy that got drafted to Toronto, and now he is the kicker for the Dallas Cowboys, just because it just didn't pan out for him in Major League Soccer. So, and I think that there's clear there's obviously other options for players here in the United States where you don't have to go to MLS. Like, you can go to USL. And I think that that's also a very interesting venture. You know, grow your credibility, play against grown men, and see if you can hack it, and then maybe you get that opportunity with Major League Soccer or even beyond that, right? Like, you know, go to Liga MX, go to overseas. So, but obviously in the United States, that's how it's done. So it's obviously the NFL probably has more of a spectacle with their draft, because for some reason they televise this, right? The NBA draft, they do that. You know, the NBA does it, NHL does it, MLB also does it, but it's just not to the level of the National Football League, because it is it's a 3-day event starting from Thursday all the way till Saturday, where you just have people watching to find out who their favorite teams are picking from the college ranks, like who's going to be the next star, who's going to be the next Patrick Mahomes, who's going to be the next Tom Brady. That's like literally the excitement of this draft. And I know I just listed quarterbacks, but you know, it's just this hope that, you know, your team's going to figure it out, and whatever it is, whether they're still trying to be contenders or they're trying to rebuild, right? So like it's this interesting. I will tell you, man, go watch the NFL draft. Just watch it just to see like the spectacle that a draft is. Because honestly, if the way it is, it's just really just commissioner comes in, he announces the pick, like whatever the team is pick, whatever player the team is picking, that's who they're picking. Then, you know, obviously you have these analysts that like talk about the grades of this player, like how good is he? Was this pick a reach? Was this pick valued? Was it, you know, all those things comes into this event. And honestly, many people were like, why would I want to watch that? But it's just one of those things that you just have to see it for yourself. Maybe one day I will attend an NFL draft just to say I did it, but it is one of those like things where you're just like, this is really a thing. And it's funny because back in the day, it wasn't this. There was no draft experts. Like there was no guys that looked at all there's guys that their job is just watching college players and seeing if they are going to correlate to the professional level. Jobs have been created because of this thing. This used to just be a thing just done behind closed doors, and then they'll tell you like, hey, we drafted John Elway, or maybe that's not the right draft class to discuss it for, but that's how it used to be, right? Like you didn't know much about it, but now it's this whole spectacle. Like now it's a road show now. It really is now, because it used to just be done in New York. Now they're like, hey, let's switch it up with the teams every year. Let's go. This year they went to Pittsburgh. Maybe next year they go to, I don't know, San Diego. Well, I guess not San Diego, but they go to LA. It's really just become, and now we're trying to, who's going to host the next NFL draft? It's mind boggling. It really is. And, it's funny, as much as I make fun of it, I get into it. Opening day, first day of the NFL draft. That's the only time I really care. Days 2 and 3, if I got nothing else to watch, I'll probably watch that. But to be honest, I'm watching Prem. I'm watching anything but the NFL draft. But still, it's quite a spectacle. I'd highly recommend you guys at least experience it once in your life. But yeah, this episode, man, we have Matt Poland. He is the manager and sporting director of FC Naples in USL League One. Really awesome interview. Really great guy. Generally just a great interview, and I am personally rooting for FC Naples at this point. They are doing some amazing things for a team that only started like last year. It's impressive, and it really is credit to what all the hard work that not only Matt Poland but his staff have done to build a team with a belief that they can go and punch above their weight and make some and do some great things, and hopefully can continue living on to that expectation. So great interview. So we got Matt Poland. Also, kind of in the theme, we're talking about managers. So Chelsea doing some things. But we're also talking about the positive side, man. We're also going to be talking about Manchester United. Edward's here, so we're going to talk about that with him. Also, Liga MX, man. Today is the final day of Liga MX. It's decision day in Liga MX. So we're going to go into the playoffs. We're going to preview the playoffs. We're going to also remind you guys some changes that happened in Liga MX, just so you're prepared as you go into it. And of course, talk about the league itself. Well, the Clausura, and then also go into the matchups. Now, obviously, by the time this episode drops, the first legs have already been played. So it's not really going to change my opinion unless like the team that I picked against probably just blew out the other team. But aside from that, it should be really still a very interesting discussion nonetheless. Obviously, guys, players of the week. Give you guys our players of the week from the past weekend. Give you guys some games to watch. And end it all with Give and Go. Give and Go, man. Give and Go. This is a really awesome soccer card game. It has a lot of just random trivia questions that are kind of nostalgia. Also have some random challenges. Obviously, we can't do that here on this show. Some other challenges as well, like naming songs from the World Cup. Obviously, can't do that here. I can't do that because it's just me that's going to discuss it. So we end the show by pulling a card from this deck, and we'll have fun with it. But yeah, and then we'll end the show up in a pretty little bow. So that's pretty straightforward. So right now we're going to take a break and then go right into our interview with Matt Poland of FC Naples, manager and sporting director of FC Naples. So get ready for that. Let me tell you guys about Belly Up Sports. Belly Up Sports is the internet sports bar. Go ahead and check out their website, www.bellyupsports.com, to read some great articles from great writers all across the country, from hockey, baseball, golf, soccer, you name it. Belly Up Sports is the premier, not your average website. All right, guys, we have a very, very special guest. Sporting director and coach of FC Naples in USL League One, Coach Matt Poland. Coach, it's great to have you on, man. First ever coach to be on this podcast, so Should be a pretty big deal for you.
Uh, Hey, that's pressure right there. That's more pressure than a game.
I don't know about that. But before we get into any of your career and also just FC Naples, first question we always ask people is, what would exactly got you into football, man? What was it that, was like, I love this game and I want more of it?
Yeah, honestly, I don't ever remember a time not playing.
Hmm.
Um, my older brother and sister played, so as long as I can remember, I was kicking a soccer ball. I think for me, I was better than average growing up, and so obviously as a kid, you want to do things that make you feel good and make you feel successful, and so that's probably why I enjoyed it. And then the other part of it that I think is the most underrated is just the locker room and your teammates. It's a different relationship and bond you have with people, and that's probably what kept me around it is those relationships.
How did you feel that transition went from being like a player to now being a coach? Did it just feel right to you? I know I've met a lot of guys that have gone from move on to the player route and kind of went on their own ventures. But how did you feel that transition was from being the guy getting the instructions to now the one giving the instructions out?
Yeah, it it's hard. It's hard to. I always say like nothing beats being a player, an athlete compared to being a coach. So it's hard to lose that. For me, I had a career-ending injury that forced me to move into coaching. So in that sense, it was easier because I wasn't sitting like, can I play another year? Should I retire? Like the decision was made for me. So there was no no like second guessing it. I just had to accept it and move on. The thing that was really hard for me when I first became a coach is I became a coach of a team that I had the year before been a player on.
Hmm.
And so I'm not sure that's a fair representation of what the first year of coaching is because I went from suddenly guys that were teammates of mine for 2 years and were older than me and were the captain. And now suddenly I'm the coach telling them what to do. And so I think that's really hard for both sides just because you have a different relationship for 2 years that now suddenly changes because of the title changes versus coming into a new environment and them only knowing you as a coach in that environment.
Yeah, and of course, all your experience it builds up to where you're at now, and obviously, FC Naples, it's a new project, just started last year, and what was it about FC Naples, and not only that, but USL League One that really enticed you of not only being the manager of this team, but also the sporting director.
Yeah, the first and foremost is the location. My family moved to Marco Island, which is 20 minutes south of Naples 15 years ago. Um, my grandparents bought a place in Marco in the 60s. So this Southwest Florida has always been a second home to me. During my off seasons, I coached the high school boys and girls team. So I felt very close in my connections to the area. Um, and so selfishly, I wanted to coach here just to be able to be close to my family. I love the weather here. My parents get to come to every game. I get to see them 3 times a week at dinner. And after living in Europe for 6 years, where I didn't get to see them for 10 months at a time, getting that opportunity was something I was really looking forward to. But in terms of more of from the professional side of things, the ability to start with the blank canvas, to have the responsibility to get to build out a entire infrastructure, and to kind of have freedom in my hypotheses of what I thought would be successful from the ground up was definitely just a intriguing task that I wanted to take on.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, what a first start, right? First expansion team to qualify playoffs, first expansion team to host the playoff game. That obviously a tremendous feat for a team that you built from the ground up. And obviously, right now you guys are looking great. Where you guys are at right now on the table. How do you keep that hunger from And we've seen other teams, maybe not just in USL, but in other like in the MLS, for example, teams that started really good their first year and then, you know, unfortunately kind of went down from whatever they had in that first year. So what you felt was so different about that FC Naples team that you had last year, and how do you keep the hunger going to keep that to be consistently on top of the table?
Yeah, I think one, it's never allowing yourself or the players to become complacent. It's kind of being obsessive of always wanting to get 1% better constantly. Not allowing anything to you can't be comfortable in sports. The second you become comfortable, bad things happen. Um, I think also with the club is we want to be philosophically known as a stepping stone club. We want to move players to higher levels. And some of our good players moved on to higher levels this past offseason. And so it's also bringing in younger players that see the pathway and want to come in and perform, right? I think when you have some amount of turnover every year, you bring in new players that are hungry and they keep everybody motivated. The other part of it too is you want to find depth in a squad where players have to compete to start every week, right? Ultimately, you know, a player first and foremost wants to play. And so creating an environment where every day they have to train hard if they want the opportunity to play on the weekend, it doesn't allow for complacency to happen because they have to compete every day.
No, yeah, that's honestly an awesome environment to build. I'm also in the same feeling of like if you're not getting better, you're kind of getting worse. And I think that kind of I feel like follows that narrative that you at least you push to the team. And I gotta ask, man, like, because you're coaching, but you're also like sporting director. When do you get to like just be the coach, and when do you get to be the sporting director? Or are there days that you're just like you're kind of doing both at the same time?
Yeah, so for me on a normal day, when I get into work, I have my meetings with my coaches. I have the training session, that we have any, wrap up meetings, all of that. It's pretty heavily focused on the coaching side. In the afternoon is maybe when the sporting side responsibilities come out more. And then I think during the season, just in general, there's obviously more head coaching responsibility because you're not doing the same amount of scouting or recruitment because you already have the team. And that's the one nice thing with the dual role is when the head coaching role stops at the end of the season, then that's when the sporting director role really takes off because that's when you're in your recruitment phase. But you don't have a team to worry about coaching every day. And so you can really dive deep into the sporting director role. But it definitely is weird because, you're the one responsible for it in terms of, if you're a coach and there's somebody else has the other role, they might sign a player that you don't want or that you would have preferred somebody else. But I think that's also a positive on my side because when a player comes into my environment as a coach, I go, hey, listen, like I was the one that recruited you. I was the sporting director that scouted you and wanted you here. So clearly I want you here for a reason. But as a coach, I'm having to say, you're not ready for this or that, right? And there's a little bit of a can be an awkward dynamic there. And I think the other part that can be a little um, challenging at times is as a sporting director, I have to put a price or value on every single player. As a coach, I don't look at players through that lens. And so I think it's hard sometimes for a player because they see, hey, during the recruitment process as a sporting director, you valued me at X amount of money. But as a head coach, you value me this way. And those could be a little bit different just based on how they're playing or whatever.
Yeah, I always say sports. It's an interesting industry just because of the fact that like athletes, we place a dollar value on these guys, and it's always it to me personally. It feels terrible to say like this guy isn't worth $500,000. Like that just sounds awful to say, but and obviously that's the nature of the business. If you go into that, when you go into that field, this is what you're getting yourself into, and you're going to be criticize or praise in both aspects of it all. But yeah, I feel like that's a crazy, at least a very tremendous challenge, especially for you. But I think obviously we've seen many guys do it. When you looked at obviously your coaching style, and then obviously when you do your search for players, and obviously I'm sure you have a great scouting team that also helps at least alleviate a little bit for you. Um, there's this word that or phrase that we hear constantly from everybody when it comes to the academy system to college and even in the professional level, and that is the phrase player profile. And I always find that an intriguing phrase just because of the fact that, like, how strict do you follow that player profile? Or, sometimes it kind of goes with whatever your situation is. Obviously, for you guys and you guys are in FC Naples, USL League One. Maybe you can't necessarily get certain guys, but you can bring in certain players. So how strict do you believe that play in that player profile is my first question. And secondly, is there ever been a moment where you're just like, screw the profile, this guy's great, and have you ever had that happen?
Yeah, I think if you have a Premier League team you're managing, you can maybe be very, very specific with the player profile, because you have the budget to get the exact perfect, dream player that fits exactly how you want to play or whatever. But at the same time, you even look at, Pep at Man City, and the way they've played has changed drastically over the years. So I think you have ideas of profiles, and I think there's certain non-negotiables that you have in a profile. But again, I think you also have to recognize if a player's talented and they're not exactly the profile, you have to decide, do you think that you can alter your game model or make an adjustment here or there to find success with that player, right? If you look, for example, our four fullbacks that we have, they're very different players. They have different profiles. So how we utilize a player on the left side as a fullback versus our right fullback is very different because they have a different set of skills. But at their core foundation, the non-negotiables that we care about, those characteristics, they both have. But they have different things that make them unique and special that we also adjust our game model to have them be the most successful version of themselves.
That is very interesting. And then, like, obviously, obviously you guys are in USL League One, and I how is what's your strategy when it comes to, like, especially talking to, like, guys that are without a contract, they're obviously looking for a club. And how do you sell your vision with FC Naples? Obviously, FC Naples reached out to you, you saw their vision, and for a player that maybe obviously still has like MLS aspirations or even further, even higher aspirations, or maybe going to Liga MX, like how do you get that guy to kind of see what's going on here at FC Naples and to be part of what you're doing? And like you said, your whole thing is being a stepping stone for these guys. So how do you sell? Well, no, I don't want to say sell, but how do you get that player to really be in all in with that vision of yours?
Yeah, I think one is showing a legitimate pathway. If they perform well here, where does it lead? Right? Players want to go to a place that will help them. And then I think the other is, in our recruitment process is we have very open conversation of areas we think we can help them improve upon. Um, if I just blow smoke up them and tell them how great they are and this and that, well, how am I going to benefit you? You're going to benefit me and the team, but how are we going to benefit you? And it has to be mutually beneficial. And so part of it is having, hey, this is what we really like about you that we think you can have success with us. These are areas we think we can help you on. And if you get these right, imagine how much more of a complete player you'll be. And I think really it comes down to at the end of the day is their trust. Does the player trust that we have their best intentions in mind? And if they do, then why not come to an environment that wants to help you grow and actively wants to push you to the next level?
Definitely. And I'm interested of, like, what exactly is like the football culture in Florida, and I guess now more specifically in Southwest Florida. Have you been able to find guys in that region alone to, and I mean, obviously, the community would love to root for the hometown kid. So how would you describe, like, the identity of the football over there in Naples, Florida?
Yeah, we actually just I don't know what it was now, 3 weeks ago, maybe, announced a local player that we signed to a full-time contract. He was on a 25-day and performed well, and we put him on a full professional contract. So we're always looking to sign local players. We have local players that are younger, still in high school, that come and train with us all the time, that we're keeping our eye on to hopefully develop into pro players. Um, in terms of soccer here, it's a community where it was historically more of a retirement vacation place. In the last decade, that's really shifted. So there's a lot more younger families that have moved here. The number of schools that have been built and all of that. So soccer is definitely growing as a whole. We also have a high, Latino community, and so you get a lot of that football culture involved in it. And so it's kind of fun because we have some Bolivians and Argentinians and Colombians and then Puerto Ricans. And then we also have, your New York family that moved here and your family from the Midwest. And so you get a little bit of a mixture. So it's not just one style in certain ways. There's just, different elements that get brought into it, which is fun to see because I think there's something to be gained from all those different cultures of how they play soccer.
Yeah, man. Hey, if you guys get a Salvadorian in there, man, just let me know so I can start being a fanboy for that guy. But no, man. And obviously, you're building something there. Did you when obviously you went through the grind during your initial off season, you start playing your matches. Uh, was there? And obviously, you're a coach. I'm not trying to. I know you guys are usually very hungry and very still like always thinking about the next game, but. When did you start thinking like, man, things are really clicking right now with this team?
For this season or last season?
Yeah, well, I mean, in general, you can.
Yeah, I think the first year we were completely counted out from the outside. We were voted to finish 13th out of 14 teams. And then we started the season, I think, 9 games without losing a game. So I think that immediately changed people's perspective of us. And then obviously finishing the season and being the first inaugural team to get a home playoff game raised the bar to a different level. Um, I think as a coach, like I try as best to not focus on the outside noise.
Mhm.
Everyone has opinions. Everyone has, and that's what's great about sports is that people have a place to give their opinion and all. I think as a coach, though, you can't listen to that as much, or you'll drive yourself crazy because everybody's opinion will be different. It's not like everybody that comes to a game has the same viewpoint of what was wrong or what was right. And so for me, it's kind of just focusing on what is our identity and are we maximizing that with the players that we have. The results are a byproduct of how we train, how we prepare, and how we recruit players in the off season. And if we're constantly focused on improving the team as a whole, the results will take care of itself. Everybody, I don't think you can get complacent though in pro sports. Everybody wants to see you win every weekend, and that's not possible. I wish it was. But you know, as soon as you finish a game, for me, it's great when you win a game, but 10, 15 minutes later, you're already thinking about the next game. The world of professional sports does not allow you to sit on your laurels for very long. I mean, for example, as you look at LeBron James, and he's 41 years old this year, and people are questioning him. And he's been 23 years, 21 years in the league, and people are still, oh, I don't, and it's
Mhm.
like even the best players of all time are having to continually prove themselves week in, week out. So that's just the nature of the sport.
Yeah, and I mean, LeBron already had I think two really good playoff games already for Lakers against the Rockets. So that's very telling about how that guy works. And of course, obviously, if anybody wants to hear their coach does not want to hear the noise, so I think anybody is very comfortable, especially with if you're saying that. Obviously, you guys were in the U.S. Open Cup. You guys had a matchup with another local team, Orlando. And I mean, you really took it to him. I mean, it was obviously not the result that we would be hoping to see for you guys, but I mean, you guys went, you know, toe to toe with a team that probably has obviously a much larger budget, has a much larger group, and I think obviously hosting them, uh, aside from obviously not the result being great, but I feel like you still put up a great fight against this Orlando team. Um, is there anything for you to take away from that, not only as a coach but as a guy that's building with FC Naples?
Yeah, obvious. It hurts to lose 1-0, especially feeling like just watching the goal that wasn't called a goal for us back. It looked like it was a goal. So you're sitting there, in my mind, those boys fought and earned that goal, and it should have been 1-1 and seen what happened. But I think the fact that we're even talking in that type of mindset is really the amazing part of it. The fact that a club 2 divisions higher, as you said, we went toe to toe with. We had led in almost every statistical category, from possession to number of shots to shots on goal to, I think we had half as many fouls as they did. So they were fouling us to try to stop us. You look at all of those things, and for a club that's been around for playing soccer for 15 months against an MLS organization, to do that is spectacular. Losses hurt. There's no moral victories in
Hmm.
sports, I guess you can say. But at the same time, if we, look with a little perspective, it's like, wow. Like I told the guys after the locker room, I was like, if you guys play in that way, in that intensity, like, the rest will take care of itself. And I think that should give us as a group a lot of confidence. And the other thing I think it was really positive was you had a lot of fans come out, and this was our first time playing against an MLS opponent. And, they know USL One, and okay, they know FC Naples, but now to see both teams on the field at once and see the way we performed, I think gave validity to us as an organization of what we're doing and what we're creating to our fans as well.
Yeah, I think, and obviously with USL, obviously with them eventually going to be starting promotion relegation, and they showing what you guys can do. Like, oh, this is a team that eventually, once promotion relegation is starting, you guys are going to be up there eventually, up top in the USL Championship, and so and that's all. That just starts bringing up hype, right? Because I honestly, as soon as we won, as soon as I learned about FC Naples, I was digging in as much as I can about this team, and I mean, I love everything about it. It's like it's a small community, but it's a great community, it's a passionate community, and I think that's what we get from USL. Like, how strong the community is in Rhode Island or these other these other cities that probably don't necessarily get the shine because they're not a Houston, they're not a LA, they're not a New York, but you see the community and it's growing around it. And I mean, you're a guy that grew up within the area, and even you in some way have this connection with Naples of your own. And I think that's what kind of like the thing that I feel like that maybe the MLS doesn't necessarily have, in my opinion, just because it's more community driven to me here in USL, which I'm kind of envious as a Dynamo supporter. But I think it's awesome what you guys have been doing, and I mean, and I think it's the other thing that I think is interesting because it's a new team, so it's not like anybody could be the leader. Anybody could come in and become their own identity with this team. And what was that, at least for you, when you saw the first guys that came into the locker room through the training sessions and kind of not only finding themselves as a player, but then what's my role with this team? What was that like for you?
Yeah, that's a big challenge with the new club, because again, you don't have a culture, you don't have a core group of guys that are returning. Everything's new to everybody, and as you said, like every player is kind of figuring out where they fit in the ecosystem of the locker room and their leadership and their demands, and are they the big dog or all of those things. So it's an interesting process over the first, especially month of preseason, the first year where kind of the dust is settling of how things will land. Um, and it's hard too because they all have a different idea of the word culture and
Hmm.
identity. They all come from a different organization, and they all have seen success or failure at their last place. And so they have strong opinions of what needs to happen or what doesn't need to happen. Um, and then how do you as a coach bring with staff and players 30 people all into the same vision and get them all rowing in the same direction? And yeah, it's definitely an interesting process to watch it all unfold. I think the biggest thing is making sure that, like, the non-negotiable standards are at the core of or at the root of all of our decisions, all of our actions as we build out the culture, as we build out the locker room, as we build out our team identity and who's a leader and how do we lead and all those things. It's something that daily has to be worked on, especially in the first season, to make sure that you're building it the right way.
No, yeah, I definitely believe that, and I gotta ask, like, how infectious is your home crowd? Like, how big do you feel when you feel like, man, when we're at home, we're just no one's stopping us because we just have the best fans in the USL. What?
Yeah, I mean, our record definitely shows that the guys love playing at home in front of the home fans. We talk about it being our fortress, and you really see the home field advantage with the community. When you have, for the Orlando game, we had 4,700 fans surrounded all four sides of the field, yelling, screaming, chanting for 90 minutes, and the amount of energy you get as an athlete, as a player. And, we're very intentional of always talking about how we play for the community, we represent the community, and we owe the community as best a show as we can put on every week when we're at home. And when they support like that, it's so easy to give everything you have for them because they're backing you that whole time.
And obviously, I'm not gonna take too much more time from you, man. But the last question I have for you is, if someone this is their first time watching an FC Naples game, what is for you the biggest thing you want them to take from your team?
Yeah, for us, we're really intentional in our defending as a group. Off the ball, we want to work so hard. We want to make it as difficult and miserable for the other team to try to score. And then we want to be electric when we win the ball, playing on the front foot, looking for transition moments. We want those moments that get the fans off their seats and standing, clapping, and cheering us on. So, for us, it's we we really value, for us, one of our like non-negotiables is every game we have to outwork the opponent, and we got to put the work in, and a lot of good things happen when you put the work in. And so we always want to be a team that's coming out and ready. If it's beautiful soccer, great. If it's a dogfight that day, great. If it's whatever it is, like, we're just going to find a way to get a result, and we want to be just utterly resilient and have a resiliency in what we do.
All right, I'm gonna actually ask you one more thing because back my time with the Houston Dynamo Academy, I was a kid, man, with the Houston Dynamo Academy, and a lot of the coaches used to like laugh at, well, maybe not laugh at me, but like laugh with me because when there was always certain guys on the academy squad that we had that I just became very much like a fan of because I always said this kid's a dog, and so. And they do as soon as we're watching like the game, and they see my face, and they're like, "Oh, Hector thinks this guy's a dog." So like, look, I don't think that's crazy to say you need a dog on your team, maybe multiple dogs, but like for you, is that a big intangible to have a guy that's just an absolute dog on the pitch?
Yeah, I think when you look at teams that are successful as a whole, you might have two, maybe three kind of artists that are really going to be that difference maker on the ball that unlocks things, whatever. Um, but you need a bunch of dogs on a team to have success. You need guys that are just willing to work. Soccer, football is a game where there's a lot of ground covered, there's a lot of sprinting, there's a lot of high intensity running. It's a big pitch, and you need guys that are willing to just grind out results and track guys down and sprint forward and do the dirty work. And the more you can find guys that have that with technical ability, it's incredible. But ultimately, yeah, if you don't have guys that don't have heart and don't want to fight, like, how are you going to get results? And especially in a League One, like, travel is not easy. Um, you're it's small market to small market. We train in the heat in Florida. It's a 10-month long season, and it's a small roster, so guys are playing heavy minutes week in and week out. And it's like you gotta really have that right mentality if you want to be successful.
All right, thank you so much, Coach. If there's anything you want to plug for FC Naples, man, this is the time, man, to go ahead and do it for you.
Yeah, I'd love for people to just check out the social media of FC Naples, get a little behind the scenes of what we're doing here. Obviously, if anyone has ESPN Plus, you can stream a game and see how electric it is, especially at our home field, and see how great our community is that supports us.
Man, make sure you guys do. I've been watching a few of you guys matches. I mean, I had to watch you guys. I mean, I actually chose to watch your game over the Dynamo's game against. I believe it was. I don't even remember who they're playing. I was watching your guys' game. I was like, I need to see.
El Paso.
Okay. Oh yeah, Locomotive. So I was like, I
Yep.
need to see this. Also, I'm still kind of spiteful with the whole Dorsey trade. So I think that was also another thing for me. But yeah, I really like the way you guys have been playing, man. I'll be rooting for you guys for sure. But yeah, man, make sure you guys check out FC Naples, man. They're dogs, man. I wanted to say it to you. I was wondering whether or not I should say it. But yeah, you guys have some dog mentality. And me, Edward, and Spencer, that's our like favorite thing to say is these guys are dogs. So appreciate it, coach, and yeah, man. Good luck for the rest of the season.
Appreciate it. Yeah, thanks for having me on here.
I love soccer, Peggy.
All right, guys. Big thank you to Matt Poland. Awesome interview. Awesome guy. Also, Edward, he validated something. Hey guys, this is Hector from the Insert Name FC podcast here to tell you guys about Canadips. It is a great tasting, superior alternative to traditional dip using CBD in a way that is radical, enjoyable, and effective. It comes in 5 core flavors: wintergreen, mint, citrus, mango, and American spice. Canada CBD is the new evolution in dip, allowing guys to enjoy great, long-lasting taste without the downsides. If you guys want to go ahead and try them out, use the code BELLYUP20 at CanadipCBD.com. Once again, BELLYUP20 at CanadipCBD.com, and you'll get yourself 20% off your purchase. Thank you again for Canadips for being a great partner of Belly Up Sports. For us,
Okay.
the importance of having dogs on your team. like it's one of those like dumb, like, not, I don't even want to say dumb American, but it's just dumb fan thoughts. Like, you just need, like, you and me, we both have appreciation for dogs, right? Like guys
Yeah,
that,
dude. I mean, dudes that will fight for the ball to the last drop, to the last second. Yeah, man.
yeah, 100%. So I felt validated that, just that a coach, a guy that probably would think these guys are idiots, you agreed. You need guys that are just gonna lace up them boots and then go to work. So I thought that was cool. Just a little bit of validation. Though we do need our maestros, right? That's always important to have your maestro, but
Yep.
also it's great to have a guy that'll sprint way more than he needs to. So there's value in that. So I appreciated that.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. Weirdly enough, I guess our headlines are involving coaches. We interviewed a coach slash sporting director, so now we're gonna talk about some coaches. So that's gonna be the interesting theme of this episode. But we'll start things off, man. One, props to Chelsea moving on to the final of the FA Cup, which is even crazier when now you know that they just sacked Liam Rowe Sr. So, which
Uh,
earlier in the way early for this season, me and Edward, we talked about when they sacked Maresco.
hmm
And we thought that was a crazy, the guy that won you the FIFA Club World Cup is no longer with the club, and obviously now he's in a good situation now. He's back with Manchester City. He's back under the tutelage of Pep Guardiola, with the potential of him becoming the next manager of Manchester City whenever Pep Guardiola either steps away, which I think he's entering his last year of his. Well, you're very familiar with Pep. He loves those
yeah,
1 year contracts.
he
So,
does. He does. And I mean, I think they were already talking about it that he was planning on stepping down
hmm
either at the end of next season, next year, 2027. So Um, yeah, he's already made the comment of it. Like he's like, I am planning to retire for 2027. So I feel like 2026 this year, 26, 27 season is probably going to be when he's going to let see basically Pep's going to take the reins, but of course he's going to take his input.
hmm
What's his name?
Enzo Maresca.
Yeah, he's gonna get Maresca's input, and then of course implement it, and then tell him and be like, okay, this is what you need to do. This is the way I'm running things. If you feel like you need to change something, do it right now, and let's see how it works. Since they are already where they're at. So I mean, it can't be as bad as, let's say he does the implementation of changes, and then somehow they start losing every single game and they go from like first place all the way to close to relegation, which I really
I
doubt that's going
mean,
to be the case.
I was gonna say that's interesting because like that's essentially what's happening right now with Liverpool with Arne Slot. Not that they're in relegation, but you
Yeah, but
know,
they went from like being up top three, one of the top threes, all the way to like mid
well,
table
well, it's because
somehow.
it's interesting now because obviously last year Liverpool won the Prem,
Hmm.
and then now you're seeing kind of a full, I guess, a full transfer period now where Arne Slot's bringing in guys that he wants, and it's just not working out. On top of that, you know the drama between him and Mohamed Salah, and obviously exiting against PSG once again in the Champions League. Uh, where they are right now, which I think they're battling for a Champions League spot right now. Luckily, the Premier League got the additional Champions League spot, so now fifth place is now a Champions League position. But yeah, like there's now talks about maybe Arne Slot getting sacked, at the end of the season, and this summer while we're having the World Cup, it's gonna be interesting of
That's going to be,
who
and
gets
then
fired and who's getting these jobs like come the end of the World Cup, and then also if you think about it, I mean Didier Deschamps, he's going to step down from France after the World Cup. Mauricio Pochettino, we all know he's leaving. He's leaving the U.S. after the World Cup. He wants to go back to the club level. Like it's going to be interesting where a lot. I mean, yes, a lot of players are going to get like because every World Cup it happens, right? A player that has a standout performance in the World Cup, he
ends
gets
up getting
that.
picked up by by a big team.
Yeah, he gets that big boost for him for the World Cup.
What
But
was
along with
it
that,
like?
a lot of manager jobs are going to be opening up. So it's really interesting how this all is going to transpire. But look, I said it when I liked the addition of Liam Rosignol. The only issue with me with Rosignol is that this was kind of a move if you were willing to be patient.
Yeah,
He doesn't have a lot of experience. While he has done great things at Strasbourg, it doesn't really tell you if he's ready for the Premier League. At the end of the day, like no offense to Ligue 1, but it's just not the Premier League. The pressure of and then on top of that, you're putting him in a club that
it's
I,
like, well,
it's there's a lot
let's
of
put it
pressure.
this well, let's put it this way, bro. Let's say he was still in League One, but instead of playing for Salzburg, he was. Wait, did you say League One
Ligue
or
1,
German
Strasbourg,
Bundes?
Strasbourg.
Okay, Strasbourg. Okay, I'm not Salzburg. I'm tripping. But in Strasbourg, I mean, it's like saying you leaving Strasbourg, but you're going to PSG, where you're expected to perform.
Hmm.
So that can let's put it this way, that can cause a lot of pressure on you. But you're right. Going to the EPL and going to one of the big teams, like big five, big six teams, it's like it would be a whole different pressure if you're going to the EPL, but you play for Bournemouth. Not no offense to the
Hmm.
Bournemouth fans out there, but
No,
we already know they're not up
I
top
mean,
right
I
now.
think I think
They're
Greg,
still rebuilding. They're still
yeah,
rebuilding.
I think great
So
example is what happened with Xabi Alonso, right? Like he went from Leverkusen, had amazing just a great tenure for Leverkusen. Guess the dream job of all dream jobs for someone that once played for Real Madrid and get the Real Madrid job. Um, and obviously, the reality is the things you can do at Leverkusen, you can't do with Real Madrid. You can't do that with a Bayern Munich. You can't do that at a. I mean, Xavi did kind of Xavi Hernandez tried to do the same thing that Xabi Alonso did with Real Madrid, trying to be stricter, implementing rules, and obviously, those players like, yeah, we ain't doing that. Like you can get away with this. Funny enough, using Xavi Hernandez, you can get away doing that with the team that he had in Qatar. You can be a little bit having those rules, having those standards. But
and
then when you go to a team where
and
their stars are a lot bigger and they're like, you know, no offense to those guys, but it's like to me, you're a
well,
nobody.
also, let's put it this way too. And I hate to bring this too. It also has to do with culture as well. Because I mean,
Mm-hmm.
if you think about it, the Saudi players, they're very strict when it comes to basically almost little anything.
Mm-hmm.
Work, when it comes to being on time, school, all kinds of stuff like that. They're pretty strict. So for them to have somebody of that caliber or with the resume that Xavi Hernandez has, and then for him to be consistently being like, okay, you're going to be on time. Okay, you're going to do this. You're going to do this. You're going to do that. Not be, but it depends on the culture as well. For example, uh, I'm sure we've all read this. We've all heard this. And Lamine Yamal, amazing player, great player. Like he has a bright future ahead of him. Do I say that it's going to be Ronaldo or Messi kind of big? I don't know. The thing is, his own dad is always filling his head up with ideas. Like his own dad, the upbringing, and like I said, that
I
always has
mean,
something to
I mean,
do.
Lamine Yamal's already getting scolded for eating McDonald's on a plane. So
Yeah, no, but what I'm saying is like his dad also fills his head. He's like, oh, he's even when Lamine Yamal gets big, nobody's gonna remember the name Messi. Sir, no.
yeah,
Okay. Eh,
you know what?
eh,
Honestly, man, like, well, I know where you're going. But honestly, man, like, I think at this point, look, there was a big gap between Maradona and Messi and Ronaldo. Like,
Yep.
I'm just gonna say, it's gonna be a while. Like, me and Edward might be dead by the time we have
Yeah.
like another kid, another young player that will be in that stratosphere as Messi and Ronaldo. So like and weirdly enough, normally it's just one guy. Like you
Yeah.
think of Pele for his era. You think of Maradona. Maradona didn't have anybody to
Maradona,
compete
bro.
with.
Nope. He
Maradona
didn't.
didn't
He.
play with Pele. He didn't play against Pele.
Yeah.
So like I mean you had two guys
And
very different.
we never get that a lot either.
Yeah,
Because think about it, we had the era of Henry, Ronaldinho,
and got completely overshadowed
yeah,
by Messi and Ronaldo.
yeah.
So yeah, like look, is Lamine Yamal gonna be good? Probably,
Oh,
maybe.
very
Um,
high potential, very high
very
potential.
high potential. I mean, people thought Ansu Fati would be in that conversation, and there's still time. There's still time for him. I'm not trying to take that away from him, but yeah, like I just think like to be in that conversation with Messi and Ronaldo, like those guys have records on records on records. Like we're not gonna have a
Hell,
guy that has gonna have in a
Ronaldo basically still going for that record, most the most goal scorers of his whole playing career.
yeah, he has the most
He's still
international
going.
goals. He has the most international goals for men. For men because all time is Christine Sinclair. Put some respect on her name. But no, yeah, no, I get all those things. But kind of going back to this whole thing with Rosinha, like I don't think it was. Honestly, I think it's crazy that they're firing him. I look, and I get it because they're coming off of 5 straight Premier League losses.
Hmm.
They're currently in eighth place, so they're out. They're right now on the outside of qualifying for Europe. Now, obviously, a big bump for them. They just won their semifinal match against Leeds United for the FA Cup. They're going to be in the FA Cup come May. I think it's May 16th that they're going to be playing, which is of all teams, it's Manchester City. They're playing Manchester City for the FA Cup. So big matchup there, which is huge implications for them because if they win that, they're in the Europa League.
Yep.
So that's a big thing for them. But on top of that, you still want to finish the year strong. Yes, it has the results not been great for Rosinha. I just don't think that I think it was a tough expectation to expect that this guy could come in and ride this ship. And for me, like if you wanted a manager that's like a win now type guy, you need to go after the big names, not guys that okay, yeah, they're doing this with this club, but let's see what they could do. So because the name that's being dropped right now for Chelsea right now is Cesc Fabregas, who obviously is doing
He's amazing
amazing
in
job
Como.
at Como. But that's the thing. Like, I mean, more and more people are starting to look at Serie A as like the worst of the Power Five leagues. Like, there's a lot of issues with Serie A. Player development is not looking great. They're signing old and older players by the minute. I mean, to the point where I don't want to take shots at Scott McTominay because I actually do respect Scott McTominay. But to a guy that's viewed as a Manchester United flop, there could be other conversations for that. But a guy
Yeah.
like Scott McTominay to leave United and then go to Napoli and then become Serie A Player of the Year.
That is a big thing.
And once again, I don't want to say that Scott McTominay is bad. I think he's actually a really good player. I think he does his role very well. But yeah, it is crazy. This guy came as like a kind of like a bust, a flop, if you want. And Edward could probably speak a little bit better on it, just because he
To
is
be
Manchester.
fair, even in my FIFA in Manchester United, I did sell him as well. So I mean,
Okay,
I'm not. McTominay is a good player. It's just like I guess it's just he wasn't fitting in with the gameplay that style that they wanted him to
hmm
fit in with, and I
and
think that's where everything goes.
yeah, and I think and then for so that's my argument. If you want to use Chess Fabregas, kind of and I would say kind of similar. Like yes, he's competing with the likes of Inter Milan, AC Milan, Juventus, Napoli. He's doing great things with this Como team, who I believe are still in a position to make it for Champions League. Um, but the big thing is like okay, you take him out of Serie A, can he do that in the Premier League? That's gonna be honestly that's
That's
gonna
going to
be
be
my
a
question,
question.
and that's kind of the same thing that would happen with Rosignol. Like, okay, yeah, he's doing, and I don't even think Strasbourg was like even in the top four, and they're not in the top four because the big story right now in Ligue 1 is RC Lens currently in second and still competing. Like PSG still hasn't won Ligue 1 yet, and that's because
Yeah.
RC Lens is like right behind them.
Right.
So like so I think you take that with a grain of salt. Like, yes, is Cesc Fabregas probably more proven because he beat tougher competitions? Probably. But honestly, like, I think we're back again in another Rosinha situation. The other name is Felipe Luis, who dominated with Flamengo. Obviously has won the league in Brazil and won the Copa Libertadores. So he obviously has a great resume. And then I think has a very good winning record in Brazil. But that's again, it's Brazil.
Yeah.
Um, but at the same time, and the point, this dude got fired because he was talking to Chelsea.
Yep.
So like this dude wasn't getting fired for any other reason, but besides the fact that he had secret meetings with Chelsea. So that's another name. Obviously, another former connections to the club Chelsea. But that's
Yeah.
also one of those. Yes, is he like a name that catches your attention? Yeah, similar to Cesc Fabregas and similar to Liam Rossignol. But at the same time, like these guys aren't. You don't know if what they're going to be able to do in the Premier League. Like I'm not saying go get Jose Mourinho. Definitely not saying that. But like if you're gonna go like I think with Chelsea's situation, and this is where I'm gonna ask this question to you. I think there's a massive problem with Chelsea. I think there's a massive problem at Chelsea that I don't think a manager solves anything. I don't know what you do if you're Chelsea. I don't know if you clean things up in like as far as the club itself, the locker room, maybe start doing a little trimming of the fat. But the reality is, since Chelsea has moved on from their owner, and we all know the Russian guy, when he had to sell the team to the American Todd Bowley, things haven't gone as great over at Chelsea. Um,
Yep.
Honestly, I don't even know why they moved on from Enzo Maresco. I don't think it was his fault that the club was going where they were going. I don't think the team is bad. I don't like they have a good roster. You have big name players, right? Enzo Fernandez, Cole Palmer. You have João Pedro.
You have players to build on,
You have
basically.
Delap. You have Caicedo. You have players. Most teams would love to have this roster.
Hmm.
But what is it? To this point, I don't think it's a manager issue. I really don't know what the issue is with Chelsea. I thought that, and I was bullish enough to say this was the team that was going to compete with Manchester City for the league title. I'm glad I was wrong, but at the same time, it's just like, what's going on with Chelsea? Like, do you think does a manager solve it, or is there a bigger issue going on with the club? And I guess you can kind of have a good idea of from this, just because Manchester United has been going through their own identity crisis. Um, how do you feel about this?
Well, I mean, we were talking about this earlier, and honestly, I feel that it doesn't have to do with the management. It has to do more with the owners. Like on this note, and it sucks to say it that way, but I feel like the ownership should go back to England if it's possible. I'm probably asking for a lot here, but then I feel that would be something positive to build on. It's just right now the players. It's just the changing managers constantly with managers changing and changing and changing. That's not going to change anything in a positive way. It might help like the first two games, but it's like, okay, the manager's basically going to grab the plan that they had up and running. It's not like he's actually going to be like, okay, let me go ahead and start from scratch. We hardly ever see that. And of course, we get to see the struggles because they're like, okay, what am I doing right here? Okay, what am I doing that? what am I doing with this player? Why is this player here? He's not part of the system that I'm used to, or something. Like they're basically getting the knowledge, the lay of the land. So their blueprints are completely different than what the team is normally used to, and trying to change them into the play style that you have in mind that you think is going to be beneficial against whichever team. Um, then you're trying to teach these players a whole new formation, a whole new play style, then they're not used to. They're gonna start, fighting over it, or not even fighting, but they're just gonna be like kind of like off put. They're just gonna be like, um, which is happening a lot in big clubs right now, especially. And I hate the fact that this is the case, but especially clubs that are owned by American teams overseas, like American management, like overseas. Like it's not happening to where you would think like, oh yeah, like, you know, for example, like, yeah, it's just I don't know how
I,
else to explain it, but
I don't know if it's. I don't think it necessarily is like where the owners are from. I think it's just the level of care. I think Todd Bowley came in kind of bullishly, where, in my opinion, I just, he comes from ownership groups of the Lakers and the Los Angeles Dodgers, which obviously, if you guys follow baseball to any extent, the Dodgers are just, let's just buy everybody. In which, I mean,
yeah,
this past offseason,
basically Yankees mentality from back in the day.
I mean, the Yankees still saying they have the same mentality. They just are, the Dodgers have just been more effective with it. Obviously, big signing was when they went after Shohei Ohtani, arguably like the best baseball right now of this era, could potentially dethrone Babe Ruth.
Yeah,
At the same time, also that speaking of generations of gaps, like that's a big gap. It's like,
that's a big gap.
but and then the Lakers, very similar kind of mentality where they're about bringing in the big names, right? They went and got LeBron James, right? Now they have uh
And still,
Luka Doncic, right? And
let
Luka
me let
Doncic
me
now with the Lakers. So like
let me.
and I think, and I'll let you get your point out. But like even when Todd Bowley came in, he immediately had issues with Thomas Tuchel, the guy that
True.
won your Champions League, by the way. um, he had an issue with Thomas Tuchel because he really wanted to bring in Cristiano Ronaldo to Chelsea. Kind of similar to what, like I said, I just explained with the Dodgers, right? They went and got Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah,
The Lakers, they got LeBron James. Now they have Luka Doncic on the team. And, so he wanted to have his own Luka Doncic type signing here in Chelsea, which was going to get Cristiano Ronaldo, which would have made Cristiano Ronaldo even more of a villain than he is to
yeah.
some people's eyes
The
if he
thing
made
that
the jump
helped
from Manchester United to
the
Chelsea.
yeah, I was about to say, I was like, the thing that really helped him was the fact that he decided to stay with Man United, like after the Real Madrid stint, that he decided to stick around with Manchester United.
No, this was while he was playing. I think this was during the whole Manchester United drama.
Yeah. No.
So,
Oh, okay. Well, even then, even after Real Madrid, people, even the
because
Chelsea and Arsenal, they
remember,
were
Ronaldo, obviously, Sporting, Manchester United, went to Real Madrid, then went to Juventus, came back to Manchester United, had a great interview with I always draw blanks with this guy's name, but you know who I'm talking about. But yeah, like had a great interview with that guy, and then obviously then they cut his contract short, and then obviously that's when he made his move to Al Nasser. Um, and who knows, maybe one day we'll see him in Kansas City for some weird reason, but or maybe an LA team. But we'll see what happens there. But there is rumors about Ronaldo potentially making the move to MLS. We'll see what happens there. I doubt that, but that I digress on that point. But so I think with Todd Bowley, he wanted to do his own big splash signing, and I don't think he really has gotten that yet. And Chelsea over the years have not been afraid of buying players.
yeah,
I mean, just this recent transfer window alone, you went and got Delap, right? You went and got João Pedro. Crazy, you went after 2 9s, by the way. They went and got the kid from Palmeiras, Estavio, right? Esteval. Like these are the things that they did, and he's trying to work as he's trying to work as a Dodgers mindset, right? And the reality is, it's just not working. It hasn't been working. You haven't gotten the results that you've been wanting to get. Um, and I don't think that go rotating through managers is going to be the solution either. I also think some of the managers that they've chosen haven't been great. Obviously, Mauricio Pochettino, not necessarily the best manager when it comes to dealing with egos, right? And that's the
Nope.
reality. Like with all these big signings that they've been making, there's a lot of egos. Enzo Fernandez, Enzo Fernandez. I think that's the only guy I can really think of right now. But a lot of big name players are right now with Chelsea, and like I said, Mauricio Pochettino wasn't the guy. Enzo looked like he was really getting the best out of this team. Enzo Maresco, I thought he was
Oh
getting
yeah.
really the best out of the team, and I thought like what we saw from the FIFA Club World Cup was a clear indicator that this team was ready to make some big eyes, make people realize how good of a team they are. And unfortunately, a really not great start for Chelsea, caused Enzo Maresca his position, and to the point now you have Liam Rossignol, who I would argue maybe if you're wanting a guy that's going to change the club immediately, and this is not the guy, I honestly think Liam Rossignol in time would have been a great decision for Chelsea. I was actually not against the signing of him. I just knew that Chelsea wasn't in a position where, just give us like one or two more seasons and we'll be a great team. Like that's not where they are. They want to win now. They want it to be in a they don't even want to be in the Europa Conference League.
Yeah.
They don't. And so that's really what the situation is with Chelsea. So I think there's a clear issue up front like that there is just a lack of identity, and I don't to this day, like kind of similar with Manchester United, like they were just hoping to throw money at it and hoping that it was going to solve everything, and it really hasn't.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you've explained it pretty well. I mean, I can't argue with that.
Yeah, but we'll see, man. I mean, Cesc Fabregas, I think is going to be the clear no duh choice. Even and the thing is, like, some people are going to be like, oh, they could wait to see what happens with these managers from the World Cup. I mean, you could, but are you really going to wait like a good chunk of the summer for these guys to come in right away and start like implementing what they want to implement? Because that, you're going to start at least preparing, getting you guys ready, getting them all situated with medical and all that. By the time like the guys that are done with the World Cup come in and they'll go through their own proper recovery periods. But once it's August, it's back to work. And so like I just don't know if you want to wait to hope maybe you can get a Didier Deschamps, or maybe you can try to lure Carlo Ancelotti away from Brazil, things like that. So I mean, I don't know if you want to wait that long.
Yeah.
You want to find a guy and you want to find him so you can finally when you can have that transfer window and you can actually start scouting and start preparing to get the right idea. But I think with Chelsea, it is the pressure that you want results right away, and I just don't see it.
Yeah. I mean, I think I think I'm in the same page as you on that one.
Yeah. But let's look at something positive. So, forget about Chelsea. Let's go something happy, right? I mean, speaking of a team that kind of has been going through a slump and trying to find managers and trying to find the right formula to get this team back on track. You even try to bring back your legend, right? And things weren't working out. And of course, that is Manchester United. Manchester United, who honestly, since moving on from Sir Alex Ferguson, has just never been the same. You can I don't even want to list all the managers that have gone through Manchester United, but there were a lot of big names, and honestly, like the most successful one out of all of them is crazy enough is Jose Mourinho, but which was I believe was an Europa League trophy. And then obviously last year you were in the Europa League final once again, but unfortunately lost to Tottenham, which I'm still to this day very pissed off at you guys for. But we'll see what happens there with Tottenham because I'm really happy where they are right now. But well, crazy enough. So obviously, Edward, you I think you were very much done with what was the Portuguese manager name? Dang, I feel bad. I don't remember his name.
It's not. Not Luis Felipe Scolari.
No, it wasn't Scolari.
Yeah.
What was his name?
Now I'm trying to think.
He was manager of Sporting, right? Sporting and Manchester United. This is great podcasting, by the way.
Great podcasting. I'm trying to think, dude. I'm really
Ruben Amorim.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, you had Ruben Amorim. Obviously, he was the guy that ended up replacing Erik ten Hag.
Yeah.
What a great time period that was. Yeah. So you move on from Ruben Amorim. He just wasn't getting the results for you. Obviously, everyone made fun of him for using a tactics board, which I still think is crazy that we're making fun of guys that are actually using the tools that they're supposed to be using for their job. But you move on from him, and then you bring in a former Manchester United player like Michael Carrick, who honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you, I didn't even realize he was coaching. But
no, he was an assistant coach. That's the thing. He was an assistant coach. He was just a coach. He was just there, being part of the group, kind of like how Carles Puyol was like the defensive coordinator for Barcelona youth.
Yeah, so he steps up into this caretaker role, and I mean since then in his 12 matches in charge, man, he's got 8 wins. 8 wins under his belt, and Manchester United are sitting in a Champions League position at third. Obviously, if things were to shake up, could be a different story. But nonetheless, Manchester United are at least in position to be in the Champions League this season, which, I mean, if you went off by the way things were going early on the year, this is probably not where you thought Manchester United was going to end up at. But here they are, man. And, obviously, you could do the typical route and then, caretakers just go back to whatever they were doing before they were a caretaker. And you find yourself a big name manager that can really take the momentum of this team, or you try to go with Michael Carrick, and that's the interesting thing to me. Like, do you feel like Michael Carrick is the guy for Manchester United?
Righteous Felon Craft Jerky is the official jerky of Belly Up Sports. For over a decade, Righteous Felon Craft Jerky has led the American meat snack revolution by concocting delicious, adventurous, U.S.-sourced jerky recipes for uncompromising carnivores across the country. With 15 different flavors to choose from, Righteous Felon has all jerky lovers covered, and by using promo code BELLYUP, you will get 15% off your purchase at RighteousFelon.com. Do your taste buds a favor today and rip into a bag of Righteous Felon jerky.
At this point in time, he is the guy. At this point in time, he is the guy. It looks like he is commanding all the respect. I mean, because think about it. So to me, when I saw that midfield back in the day, Ryan Giggs, Michael Carrick was the dog. Giggs was just the passer. He was the playmaker. He was going ahead making the passes. He wasn't as aggressive as Carrick would be. So I feel like that also plays a big part of it, instead of like I guess you could say somebody who's soft-hearted. I feel like Michael Carrick is helps the team see how aggressive they need to be in order to win the ball or even score or anything like that. Like, because remember, he played center mid. He wasn't a center attacking mid. He was more center mid. So he played both. He could attribute to the attacking and defending. And the thing is, it's like he was good. I mean, he was back in that Manchester United team when Cristiano Ronaldo was there.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, that team was good. So I think he managed to demonstrate to them like, hey guys, like this is what we need to do. And he actually put it with authority. He said it like, say it with your chest. Yeah, he said it with his chest, and it looks like it's been working. So whatever it is he's doing, keep it going. So if they somehow qualify for Champions League, he is that guy because they haven't been there in a minute.
Yeah, and I think obviously on top of that you have Bruno Fernandes who is coming off right now I believe 18 Premier League assists,
Mm-hmm.
which is actually that's two assists away from the all-time record. Um, yeah, I mean definitely stand up. I mean, which is what you want from your captain, right? 18 assists, 8 goals. That's like 26 GA right there. Potential. You're talking about potential player of the season, team of 11 of the season for the Premier League with the way Bruno Fernandes is playing right now. But yeah, he's I feel like definitely has gotten the best out of this team. Say what you want about Cunha, he's got 8 goals to his name. You got Mbueno, who's also got 9 goals to his name. Sesko, a player that you're very high on, has 9 goals on his tally so far this season. And is this team perfect? No, because I mean, obviously, like the last 5 matches that we've seen from Manchester United, 2 wins, 2 losses, and a draw. Not saying that this team is like perfect by all means. And I haven't heard from the guy that was supposed to that he was gonna get a haircut. Not gonna grow his hair until Manchester United win 5 in a row, which I don't think they've done yet. They've been close. They've been close plenty of times. But I don't think it's gonna happen. And I mean, maybe, who knows? Because, we'll look at the remaining matches. So this episode's already by the time this episode drops, they've already played Brentford, but Brentford is still up there. You have a very important match against Liverpool, which that could implement whether or not Manchester United stays in 3rd place or not. You have Sunderland, you have Nottingham Forest, and then you finish it off with Brighton. Like, these are very important matches for Manchester United to stay in that Champions League spot, because once again, and mind you, we're talking about 5 spots in Champions League, and 3 that are still up for grabs. Obviously, 1st and 2nd is very safe, but 3rd, 4th, and 5th still very much in play. And I mean, you got Liverpool, Brighton. I mentioned Brighton. Brighton is one of those teams that are still contesting, hoping they can get into that Champions League spot. They need a little bit of help to get there, but they're still in that conversation. But yeah, man. I mean, who, and I think obviously, Ineos, they're gonna keep an eye on Manchester United. They're gonna see how this team performs. And if they feel Michael Carrick is the guy, I think he's definitely put in a good resume for himself. The question is going to be like, what happens, next season when things aren't looking as great, right? Like,
Yep.
do you start pulling the plug already, pull another Ruben Amorim, and then, go back into the same conversation? Because guys, like, similar to Chelsea, Manchester United has been going through their own struggles as well, as far as being a revolving door for managers, buying X amount of players to hope that they're the solution to this team. So do you feel like you're near that end of the tunnel where, Manchester United's mediocrity is finally going to be no longer the same?
I think, yeah, we're again there. Close to it.
So for you, if let's say if Michael Carrick doesn't get offered the role of manager for Manchester United, is there a guy that you see right now that you would love to take over?
Honestly, bro, I don't. Like, right now, Manchester United is flying high. I want to say that Michael Carrick has also been working tactically with them, like with the whole team, and he has been doing the same stuff that Amorim was doing, just behind closed doors. He wasn't doing it like right then and there. He's more of like he's watching. I think the way he's watching the pitch is how he would watch it, like if he was in the pitch himself.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, I mean, every coach does that, but I mean, he's literally at midfield where he was, and sometimes he would have to play, wing just a little bit, not too much, and then he's there. He's just looking, so he gets to experience it, and he's had practice. mind you, he was a player under the great Sir Alex Ferguson. So I'm pretty sure he has some sort of sway, and he also has that kind of temperament. Because remember, Sir Alex Ferguson was about punctuality. He was about, you represent this club, you're going to represent it highly. You're not going to show up in like sweats and stuff like this and that and the other. Like he was always wanting them to wear a suit and tie kind of deal. Um, so he may be able to pull it off. But I mean, I'm hoping that he is. Like I'm really hoping that he is.
No, yeah, I mean, I hope so for your sanity. You know, obviously,
Just do my sanity.
I mean, I really do. I mean, and I'm not saying that to just be like an asshole or anything like that, but like, look, as someone that has like a soft spot for Arsenal and having to like watch them make bad decision after bad decision after bad decision after bad decision. There's a lot of bad decisions, but you know, and well, right now it's not looking great. But you know, kind of like at the end of this tunnel, hopefully that maybe Arsenal will finally lift a trophy, whether it's the Premier League, which if it's not, it's crazy how they keep balling this thing every year after year, or it's somehow overcoming Atletico Madrid and then finding out a way to beat either PSG or Bayern Munich to win the Champions League for the first time, which that's going to be, I will say that's probably by far the most impressive run in Champions. No, it's not. It's Porto. It's going to be Porto. Like Porto should have not been there, but that's mean. Porto should be there. but you get what I mean.
Now you're like, that's mean. No, but you know, they should be there.
No, they deserve to be there. If you're in the final, you deserve to be in the final. But it's just like, you know, it's just one of those things where you remember it's the Jose Mourinho tattoo. So
true.
Jose Mourinho gets to flex with everybody that he got Porto to the Champions League and to win the Champions League final. You know, that's something that he will. It's like that guy in that episode of King of the Hill, that the former Dallas Cowboy that like blocked. That kick. Like that's what Jose Mourinho is. He's just gonna flash his tattoo to you and be like, "Yeah, it's that little blue and white ball that I have right there. That's from that Champions League I won with Porto. I don't know if you knew about that."
Oh God, that would be horrible, man.
And you can't say anything. You're just like, "Oh yeah."
I mean, cool. You really can't. That's cool. Really cannot.
Like it's really cool, Jose.
Yeah, just be like, "Oh, that's awesome," and he'll be like, "Can you say that you've done something like this?" And you're just like,
I did it in FIFA.
Like I did it in FIFA, and I got the quadruple.
I'm sorry. Did you get Portsmouth all the way up to the Premier League and then win the Champions League?
And I did it in Legendary. So
Legendary and didn't miss. I didn't miss one season.
Yeah, exactly.
Back to back.
Oh man.
But yeah, no, it's you know, I think it's a good thing, dude. I'm happy for you. I'm happy for Manchester United. Hopefully they finish it strong. Like I said, they've already played. By the time this episode drops, they've already played Brentford. So hopefully they got the result against Brentford. But I mean, big matchup this weekend, right? They got Liverpool, the Red Derby. You know, I'm sure Edward is thinking of nice things to say to Kelsey. Because that's gonna be a big
Kelsey. I love you, Kelsey. But
also talk about like
have to...
two sides of the coin over there with Liverpool, right? Because
all the and also that, but I do have a soft spot for Liverpool. Ever since El Niño Torres started playing there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know me. I had a soft spot. Stevie G, you know. So yeah, I'm just little soft spot. But Manchester
United, that would be like diabolical if anybody else heard that. Like, yeah, I like Manchester United, but I really do like Liverpool.
I'd probably get my ass whooped at one of those bars, you know.
You're like that the parent that has like sons playing against on opposing teams.
Oh,
so you do like
God,
you do like the split jersey.
Yeah, that would be horrible. Because then, if Mateo plays for one team and they're rivals, and he could play for another team. Oh, that's gonna suck.
The thing that would suck though is because like the badge is obviously on one side and the logo, you know, obviously the sponsor the apparel logo is usually on the other side. Like how do you put the Liverpool logo and the United logo at the same place?
I'll just put one on one side and one on the other one. The problem is it's gonna be like, which one do I put on my left side, which means over your heart. You know what I mean? So that one, exactly.
More symbolic.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man, but all right, yeah, that's headlines, man. Yeah, so we're gonna take one more break, and then after this, it's Liga MX. Liga MX playoffs is on the way, and we'll see who we think is gonna make it, because it is a very interesting edition of Liga MX. So be ready for that. Fight and win! All right, guys, Liga MX. Right, we are in. Decision day has been done. The stage is set. I don't even know why I can't say words right now, but here we are. The stage is set for La Liguilla, and I should probably mention some things for this Clausura, because obviously this Clausura, which I mean we discussed it with Honda and Fader when we previewed the season, the Clausura. There's some changes going in this season, right? The play-in, no more, thank God, no more play-in. So that is going to be removed. If you guys don't remember, the play-in was essentially very similar to the NBA, right? From 7th to 10th place, they do a play-in. 7 and 8 plays to see who's going to be the 7th seed. 10th and 9th seeds, who gets a chance to play against the loser of that 7 8 place game to decide who's going to be the 8th seed. So no more of that. It is literally top 8 teams move on to the next round. Why is this all happening? Well, obviously, the clear obvious thing. The summer is the World Cup. Mexico is hosting the World Cup. So they want everything to be done so that way they can go right into preparation for the World Cup, getting the stadiums ready, specifically, obviously, Estadio Azteca, Monterrey, and of course, Chivas de Guadalajara. Like, they're going to be using their stadiums for the World Cup. So the sooner they can get this competition done, the more they can focus in preparing everything for the big competition, right? Very clear. Another thing that's happening, the players in Liga MX that play for the Mexican national team will not be with their teams. So guys like Rangel, Lira, just to name a few. I'm not going to list the entire Mexican national team, but all the guys that play for the Mexican national team will be not with their teams. They're going to be getting ready in the camp for Mexico to get a head start to prepare for the World Cup. So, which I believe they're all going to be in the Mexican camp. So they're not going to be available, and which added to the whole thing where, Liga MX allowed for them to add an additional amount of extranjeros, foreign players, right? So players not Mexican, right? And also, I guess, let them increase the size of their rosters, which a lot of these Mexican teams really were very active, very proactive in making sure that they made some signings in preparation for the loss of their key players. So, and obviously that emphasized them to go get more extranjeros, foreign players, because of this competition. So that's things to follow, because if you're watching, like, for instance, Chivas de Guadalajara, and you're like, hey, where's Brian Gutierrez? Where's Richie Ledesma? Well, they're with Mexico right now. So that's kind of like to get a good understanding of the World Cup, because of the World Cup preparation, and these guys are now being more so featured Mexican players. Maybe Richie Ledesma is probably like the guy on the fringe, but Brian Gutierrez definitely made a big name for himself after making the switch from USA to Mexico, which I'm sure some people want me to share. Well, obviously, if you guys remember, I had a lot of high aspirations for Brian Gutierrez, and I'm still cheering for the kid. I think he's a very talented player, whether he chose Mexico or USA. Obviously, he did the one-time switch because he already had a cap. He was part of that Camp Cupcake team that I don't know what happened. I really don't. I think at the end of the day, I honestly would tell you, Brian Gutierrez should have been what happened to Diego Luna. And unfortunately, he just didn't have a moment like Diego Luna had in Camp Cupcake, where Diego Luna obviously broke his nose and told Pochettino to keep me in the game. He went on the game, got an assist, scored a goal, and then he got subbed out immediately after it, which obviously earned the respect of Pochettino, because that was the whole big balls, right? Big balls, Diego Luna. So in reality, if that moment never happened, I do think Brian Gutierrez does get the bigger shout over Diego Luna. I do think some people may find it outrageous. As much as I love Diego Luna, I do think Brian Gutierrez is better than Diego Luna. For instance, because Diego Luna isn't a starter for the U.S. men's national team. And I'm not saying that Brian Gutierrez would be a starter for the U.S. men's national team. Obviously, he would have to compete among the likes of Malik Tillman, even Gio Reyna, who doesn't play as much for the club team, but still plays very impactful for the national team. Even with Christian Pulisic, who kind of would be in that cam role, depending on how the formation's used for the U.S. men's national team. So, honestly, I think that Brian Gutierrez put himself in a situation where he was going to stand out and play. He stood out with Mexico, and now he's getting his opportunity, which I'm happy for him. I hope that he does well, despite that I'm a Mexican hater. But, nonetheless, so I'm still a fan of Liga MX. And so let's talk about the big stats before we get into the standings of the Clausura. Well, not the whole standings, but obviously, actually, as a matter of fact, if you guys are watching the video version, it's right there to my side, so you can guys already have an idea of how the standings finish in Liga MX. But the goal leader for this season is João Pedro Geladino of San Luis, Atlético San Luis. He had 14 goals this season, so good big ups for him. The assist leader was Luque Orellano. There was actually a massive tie, but I'm just going to give it to Orellano. He did have more goals in the other competition. Luque Orellano from Monterrey, he had 4 assists. Keep an eye on him, especially in these playoffs. The clean sheet leader was between Keylor Navas and Raul Rangel. Keylor Navas of Pumas and Raul Rangel of Chivas de Guadalajara with 6 clean sheets apiece. The best attack was Pumas. Pumas had 34 goals scored this season as a unit, highest goal scoring team. And the best defense was Toluca with 16 goals allowed. Very solid defensively. Obviously, Toluca was still looked at as a team that, obviously they're going for a three-peat in Liga MX, so we'll see what happens with them. And the Fair Play Award, the team that played the cleanest, which is saying a lot, especially in Liga MX, is Monterrey with 24 yellow cards and 2 red cards. That's actually pretty impressive, to be honest. But let's look at the standings, man. So, in first place, you have Pumas. Pumas standing right on top of the table, which is, I will say, people, Fader, he talked about Pumas. They did a lot of interesting. They were very active in the off season to make sure that they had a team prepared for this go around. Obviously, you have Keylor Navas, who was leading in clean sheets. So and they have a great attack. So they built the team right, and they're hoping that this is enough to make a push to a Liga MX title. In second place is Chivas de Guadalajara, which I think has been the story of this season. The team has been playing up to the expectations that most of these Chivas fans are hoping to see from this team. Obviously, a lot of down years, and I don't think it's to a fault or anything. It's just the identity of Chivas de Guadalajara that's always going to be, which is the fact that they are going to play with only Mexican players. They are never going to have an extranjero on the team. It's going to be Mexican players. Mexican-American still counts. So Chivas de Guadalajara, obviously, impressive season. It's really cool to see. I think maybe, obviously, they're going to lose some players because of the Mexican national team call-up. So that'll be kind of interesting to follow if Chivas has any sort of, especially because they're going to be without Raul Rangel, right? Raul Rangel is going to be with the Mexican national team. How big of a loss is that for Chivas de Guadalajara in this competition? That's going to be the interesting thing. Like, teams that are really good right now, because they're going to lose a lot of their good players because of the World Cup. Like, could that open things up for these other teams that maybe have extranjeros, that's kind of the big disadvantage for Chivas de Guadalajara, because they have a lot of Mexican players that this could hinder them because those guys, their best players, are going to get called up. So that's going to be interesting to follow in the La Liga. In third place, we have Cruz Azul, which, I mean, they were the game I was waiting for on Sunday and I wasn't going to stay up all night to cover this part. So, but here they are, man. They were able to jump up. I believe they were in 5th place, so they jumped up all the way to 3rd. Better situation, in my opinion, for them. Also, a pretty solid team, has gone pretty better. Also, will be without some players, of course, because of, once again, national call-up. Obviously, Lira is a big loss for them. So we'll see how they respond to that. In 4th place, we have Pachuca. Very good team, very solid, very solid team overall. Good team to follow. I believe Fader also pointed this team out as well. In 5th place, we have Toluca. Obviously, very good defensively. Probably not the greatest at school. Probably the reason why is because they just weren't scoring as much goals as they were the previous season. But they're still in the playoffs, and I mean, with the consistency of Toluca, man, I mean, can they three-peat? We'll see what happens with them. In 6th place, we have Atlas de Guadalajara, another interesting team to follow in Liga MX. In 7th place, we have Tigres, and in 8th place, Club America. And I know a lot of people want to say something about Club America, and I just realized that Monterrey is not on this at all. So that is interesting because I just said something about Monterrey, but we won't have to worry about them because they're not in it. Yeah, they're on the outs. They weren't even close. They were in 13th place. But yeah, so that is the teams in this. Like I said, man, we'll see what happens. Oh, the top assist. Wait, really? If that was the case, how come? That's interesting. Okay, maybe FotMob doesn't have it right. Okay, but we'll go into the matchups now. By the time this episode drops, the first legs have already been played, so we'll see what happens. We'll see if this hurts me or not.
Whoa, that person has really gotten him or herself into quite a predicament.
But all right, we'll start with the first matchup. We have first place Pumas taking on 8th place Club America. The last time these teams faced, it was a 1-0 victory for Pumas. This is like an interesting kind of situation just because of the fact that like Pumas obviously best attacking team, all those things, but there's something about Club America once again in this tournament. They're the last team in, and we've seen them come in as a play-in team and be the only play-in team to win Liga MX. So it's just something about their identity with the playoffs that they just know how to get the best out of their team. We'll see if Pumas have learned from their mistakes. Can they take advantage of just having, obviously that second leg being played in their home stadium? Or is, once again, Club America just what they are known for, which is just winning Liga MX, regardless of where they are? Could that factor in? I think that's going to be interesting to follow. I don't know why. I'm going to say Club America. I'm going to say Club America gets the upset here. I think Pumas gets eliminated. Which would be insane, especially with which is the firepower the team has. But I try not to count out Club America as much as I don't really want to be rooting for Club America. Next game is second place Chivas de Guadalajara taking on 7th place Tigres. Like I said, man, Chivas is gonna be missing out on a lot of players. Last time they faced off against each other, it was a 4-1 victory for Tigres. I think the biggest thing that's gonna hurt Chivas right now is the fact that they're going to be missing a lot of guys. I think a lot of guys are going to be called up with the Mexican national team. And I mean, to be fair, Tigres is going to lose some players as well. Marcelo Flores, I'm imagining, is going to be with Canada. But I just don't think unless Angel Correa gets called up by Argentina, which could happen, maybe it might happen, but I just don't know. I don't think so. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Obviously, we don't know the call-ups till we get there, but yeah, I don't know. Something just tells me that Tigres I think Chivas is going to lose a lot of important players. I really do think so, and I think that's going to hurt them the most. So I'm just going to take Tigres. I think Tigres moves on to so we have the lower seeds right now moving on to the next round, and I think it's not because Chivas de Guadalajara is not a bad team. It's the fact, one, Raul Rangel is going to be gone. Brian Gutierrez is going to be gone. Richie Ledesma, I'm not saying he's one of the best, more impactful players for them, but he has been helpful. So, yeah, I think Chivas gets eliminated. I think Tigres moves on to the next round. Cruz Azul and Atlas. This could be interesting once again. Cruz Azul is going to lose some players as well. I don't know if Atlas is going to lose anybody, but I think the only player that Cruz Azul is really going to miss out is Lira. And I know that's a pretty important player, but as far as everything else, I don't think there's going to be any other big losses for Cruz Azul. So I'm going to say Cruz Azul moves on. And last time they played was a 2-0 victory for Cruz Azul as well. And then we have Pachuca taking on Toluca. Obviously, this is the more even match between the two teams. The last time they faced off, it was a 1-1 draw. And I don't know about significant losses for both these sides as far as like players going to the Mexican national team. I mean, Toluca would have Marcel Ruiz being called up, but obviously he was dealt with an injury, so I think it's kind of up in the air whether or not he gets called up or if he's even playing. So this is a really interesting one. Toluca, obviously, their defense is going to travel very well, but this is going to be a really interesting one. I think Toluca takes it, which is crazy. I mean, it's not crazy. I think Toluca is still a very good team. They obviously best defense in the Clausura, but it's going to be really interesting to see because I think I can honestly see where the lower seeds are advanced. I really do. It's one of those. It's going to be a weird year because of just the whole fact of the change, right? The fact that like Mexican national team players are going to leave early. They're going to leave. They're not going to be part of this, and those guys are very important to these teams. So it could very much be the big advantage of this competition is the team that doesn't have the players that are playing for the national team that's going to be available to them. So that's going to be, yeah, I can't believe I'm doing that, but here we are.
Whoa, that person has really gotten him or herself into quite a predicament.
But yeah, that's Liga MX, man. So we'll go ahead and take a break and then go right into Players of the Week.
Anything's possible. Anything's possible.
All right, guys. Players of the Week is brought to you by SeatGeek. SeatGeek is an amazing ticketing site app. However you use it, it is amazing, man. It provides you tickets for all live events that you could think of, from sporting events all the way to concerts. SeatGeek has you covered, man. Edward and I use it a lot of times because we like going to events. We like going to watch sports games, and we also love concerts. So if you're not sold just yet, and it has a great grading system when it comes to these tickets and getting these seats. If the ticket is very red and the score is very low, that means these seats, the guy's trying to rip you off. Keep scrolling. You're going to find a better deal. If the score is really high and it's super green, that means you're getting a great deal for these seats. Go ahead and buy it and enjoy your event. Me and Edward, we love the simplicity of SeatGeek, and if you're not sold just yet, first-time users get $20 off their first purchase when you use the code BELLYUPSPORTS at checkout. Once again, BELLYUPSPORTS at checkout. Save yourself $20 off your first purchase at SeatGeek. SeatGeek, life's an event. We have the tickets. My player of the week is Jared Bowen, who got 2 assists in West Ham's 2-1 victory against Everton, which has a little bit backstory to it because, obviously West Ham and Tottenham are fighting to stay away from the relegation zone. Tottenham finally got a win. But then West Ham United also secured a W as well, which means that, Tottenham is still in the relegation zone. So Jared Bowen, big factor for it. Got 2 assists. Obviously, someone that's going to be looked at for the English national team as well. So big props to Jared Bowen. And Edward's player of the week is Alexander Sorloth, who scored 2 goals in Atletico Madrid's 3-2 victory against Athletic Club Bilbao. So big win for him. Alexander Sorloth, obviously a guy that I was saying that a lot of teams should be looking into in January, but obviously he did not because he's still being utilized over there at Atletico Madrid, who, by the way, still have the Champions League to fight for. So congratulations to Jared Bowen and Alexander Sorloth for being our players of the week. Once again, guys, use that code BELLYUPSPORTS. Save yourself $20 off your first ticket at SeatGeek.com. SeatGeek, life's event. We have the tickets. All right, guys, some games to look forward to this weekend. We have a big rivalry match in Turkey. We got Fenerbahce taking on Başakşehir, Istanbul Başakşehir. So really big matchup there. So make sure you guys watch that, especially if you're not really familiar with the Turkish league. Well, there's a chance to learn a little bit about some of the big rivalries over there in that league. Also, in USL League One, we got FC Naples taking on One Knoxville SC. So if you guys want to see the grit, the team camaraderie of FC Naples, and see the identity of what Matt Poland has put onto this team, here's your chance. Go ahead and check it out. Once again, ESPN Plus. If you have it, go ahead and check it out. Get that first week trial, man. Get that free trial. But there you go. So FC Naples, man, versus One Knoxville SC. That is an interesting name, and I love it. But check it out. Go root for FC Naples, man. Let's go. Let's do it, boys. In Liga 1, we got Strasbourg versus Toulouse and Lyon versus Stade Rennes over there in Liga 1. In the Bundesliga, we got Bayer Leverkusen taking on RB Leipzig and Hoffenheim taking on VfB Stuttgart. That'll be an interesting one for sure. In the Serie A, we got Como taking on Napoli. Look, man, keep an eye on Cesc Fabregas. Could he be the next manager at Chelsea? We'll find out, but they have a big test against Napoli. As well, we have Sassuolo taking on AC Milan. Like I said, AC Milan needs to get some results in to get at least a belief that this team is something to watch for next season. In La Liga, we got Girona taking on Mallorca and Real Madrid taking on Espanyol. Even though, to be honest, it's over. It is over. I don't see Real Madrid. I don't see Barcelona slipping out, and I don't see Real Madrid being able to capitalize it. So at this point, I'm just hoping Real Madrid can win El Clásico. That's all I want. If you can at least sweep Barcelona in La Liga, I'll take that. That is all I'm writing on this at this point. But at this point, I don't see Real Madrid jumping over Barcelona. If it happens, great. I'll be ecstatic, but I just want the season to be over with at this point. And then in the English Premier League, we got Arsenal taking on Fulham. Once again, Arsenal has to win out. They have to win out and not let Man City catch up to them and pass them up. And then, of course, Manchester United versus Liverpool, a big matchup for Michael Carrick and his boys. Can they overcome the Red Derby, which obviously, this is a very interesting situation with Liverpool, being that obviously all the drama that's happening with Arne Slot and the boys. But we'll see, man. They had a big win, obviously. But we'll see what happens there against Manchester United. Who's going to be the Red of the Reds in this Red Derby? We'll see what happens there. But obviously that's not all the matches playing this weekend. But if you guys need a good beginner's guide, I think we gave you guys some good matches to keep an eye on this weekend. So with all that being said, we're going to take one more break and then go right into Give and Go.
Hey everyone, it's Ryan from No Credentials Required to talk to you about one of our newest partners at Belly Up Sports, SeatGeek. Yeah, live sports is great on television, but the feeling of being at the arena is a priceless experience. That's why our friends at SeatGeek are there to help you find the best tickets at the best prices. Not only can you get tickets to sporting events, but you can also get tickets to concerts, comedy shows, musicals, and more. Search for your desired event now at SeatGeek.com, enter promo code BellyUpSports at checkout, and you save $20 off your first purchase. SeatGeek. Life's an event. We have the tickets.
All right, guys. Give and Go. Every card tells a story. What's yours? Give and Go is the ultimate soccer card game packed with trivia, challenges, and conversation starters that bring fans together. With 3 game-changing categories, it's designed to get everyone talking, laughing, and reliving their favorite footy moments. On the couch, at the pub, or wherever the game takes you. Wherever you go, Give and Go. This is an awesome card game, man. I have so much fun playing it. It just really brings up a lot of memories, man, and I think that's what's awesome about this card game. But obviously, I already shuffled the deck. We're going to go ahead and see what cards we're getting. So we'll get the first 3 just because sometimes I can't play certain ones. For instance, this one, Quickfire. Name a player for each letter of the alphabet. Don't want to do that one because, well, it'd be more fun if it was like in a competitive setting. If you could play in any stadium in the world, which one would it be and why? Okay. If you could play in any stadium in the world, which one would you play and where would you play and why? I mean, the boring answer will be obviously the Santiago Bernabéu. I think that's pretty obvious, right? Because I am a Madridista. I support Real Madrid. It would probably be a dream to play in the Bernabéu. Overall, just that would mean I'll be playing for Real Madrid, hopefully. So that would probably be the ideal, the dream stadium to be ever to play in. I think obviously if you're talking about anyone that's a fan of a specific club, with a lot of history, they'll probably pick that stadium. Same if for instance, Edward will probably say Camp Nou because of Barcelona. Man, but I guess if I couldn't pick the Bernabéu, I think for obviously being Salvadorian, I think El Cuscatlán. El Cuscatlán is going to be the big one, right? For me, is obviously what it means for El Salvador. It is the home front of El Salvador. That's where all the home matches for El Salvador's national team plays. It's either that or El Mágico González Stadium. It's going to be that one, El Cuscatlán. I think it's just the historic meaning of it and what it means for me as someone that is Salvadorian, to play in that stadium and have the crowd behind your back. It's probably very surreal. So if I had to pick any stadium, not the Bernabéu, it's El Cuscatlán. Let me make sure I'm pronouncing it right. I'm pretty sure I'm saying it right, but El Cuscatlán is definitely the El Cuscatlán Stadium. It's just honestly for me. At one point in my life, I want to attend a match in that stadium. I want to be there, either supporting El Salvador or watching a big match being played there. And especially now that now that I've actually been pushing myself more to go to El Salvador, to obviously see family, but I definitely want to explore more of El Salvador. I want to see the rest of El Salvador. I've been to where Edward's family is from in Lislique. So I would love nothing more than to go to Cuscatlan and really embrace the you know, I mean, I don't want to say embrace the culture, but you know, learn more about my culture as a Salvadorian. You know, just because, you know, once again, it's that whole thing of being a first generation. Like, you're still very close to the culture of your family, because obviously my mom didn't raise me to be American. She raised me as a Salvadorian person who still has those Salvadorian traditions and morals and all those things. And then obviously, but you know, once again, I'm American. I was born here in the United States. Like, even, you know, I think a lot of people find it offensive, but I don't think it is. The truth is I am an American. This isn't me like taking away my Salvadorianness. That's not what it is. It's just me knowing that this is where I was born. I was born here in the United States. That's literally what the definition of what an American is where you're born. I am of Salvadoran descent. I think that's really how you're supposed to phrase it. You're an American. It's like for a lot of these French players, I think is the best example. Yes, they have ties to countries like Senegal, countries like all the Cameroon, all those countries that have French influence. Yes, they have a connection there. Their families are from there. But at the end of the day, they're French, right? They were born in France. They grew up in France. Mbappe is probably a clear example, right? He was born in France. His parents are but has roots to African countries. I don't remember what country was it specifically that he's from. I think it's either Morocco or Cameroon. I forgot which one it was. But that's kind of the point. They're French, right? They're French. They were born in France. They grew up French. They are French. But they still have their ties to their African roots. And so I think that's kind of similar with me. Like, I was born in the United States. I am an American. I speak English. But I have ties to El Salvador. I speak Spanish, sort of. So like, there's still things that like I do connect to my Salvadoran heritage. I'm very much proud of my Salvadoran heritage. But also the fact is I am an American. That's just point blank. That's something that I can't now, unless I decide to denounce my American citizenship. If I choose to not want to be an American, I could do that. That's my right as a citizen. I can denounce my citizenship, but I don't, because I'm not ashamed to be an American. I'm proud of being an American. You know, like I'm not like those proud to be Americans. Like, I'm a realist. I've always been like that. That's how I've always been. I try not to, I'm very moderate. And I think, you have to be proud of where you're from, man. Like, this is honestly a great country to live in. Even though I don't take anything, like, I wouldn't mind living in El Salvador. I wouldn't mind, living anywhere else. But I think that this is honestly a very great, also a good place to live. There's places that want to be here. There's people that want to live in this country, because of their situations. But that's not here or there. I'm not trying to get into a whole soapbox. But yeah, going back to it, yeah, at Cuscatlan. If it's not Santiago Bernabeu, it's at Cuscatlan. That's like the dream. I want to explore that place more, and I want to learn. I want to be there and experience all of that. So that would be awesome for sure. But yeah, that's episode 250. I think is it 255? Are we at 255 now? I think we are. Let me see. I believe we are at 255, which that is bananas. Yep, we are at episode 255. So thank you so much for listening to episode 255. I want to give a shout out to Belly Up Sports. Check out their website, bellyupsports.com. Lots of articles constantly being written. Obviously, we got draft grades, right? Draft grades. MLB is happening. NBA playoffs is happening. NHL playoffs is happening. We're getting closer to the World Cup. Things are happening at Belly Up Sports. So check out the website, bellyupsports.com, to see the articles. And of course, go on Instagram and X to follow them as well over there, at Belly Up Sports, man. You should have seen their coverage for the draft. Awesome graphics. Shout out to Kev, by the way, to making those awesome graphics for the players that were getting drafted right on the spot. So really good job on those guys, man. Shout out to Gold TV. Obviously, you'll see me from time to time on Wake Up MLS. So make sure you'll see me over there as well. So show them some love over there on X at goals_TV, GOZ_TV, and also on Instagram at goals.tv, GOZ.TV. Check them out, man. Subscribe to their YouTube channel. And like I said, you'll see me there from time to time on Wake Up MLS. So go give them some love. And I'm sure you'll probably see me on some other stuff as well over there. And of course, man, if you guys listen to the video version, actually, if you listen to this podcast in general, if you hear the ads or the intros and outros on the audio version, those are made by Roosevelt Spencer. He is the best. He is the la creme de la creme. And we love him so much that we actually named our Player of the Year award after him. The Roosevelt Spencer's Player of the Year award is because of this man. We love and appreciate Spencer so much. And honestly, guys, if you guys need some beat work done, hit him up on Instagram at thatguydope. Once again, on Instagram at thatguydope for some beat work, man. Just send him a message. Tell him, hey, the guys from Insert FC have sent us over here. We need some help with some beats. Please help us. And he will take great care of you like he always does with us. That's why we love Spencer, and that's why he's our MVP every single year. So thank you, Spencer, always being the best for us. With all that being said, man, thank you so much for listening. Catch us next week where more stuff is going to happen. So get ready. Take care, guys.